Are you dreaming about writing an erotic novel, but you're scared? Well, today you are going to get a giant burst of courage and confidence to put those erotic visions on paper in a book to share with the world. We are here with one of my favorite people, the best-selling author Sylvia Hubbard, who is going to share her success story as an erotic romance novelist, and she is going to also help you find the courage to tell your erotic story. Sylvia, welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure and an honor to be in the presence of Miss Atkins.
Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you. So, we've known each other for decades through the Detroit writing community. Sylvia is
Yeah.
founder of the Motown Writers Network, and Sylvia does workshops and conferences and events and coaching. And she's just an absolute powerhouse and treasure trove of information and inspiration. And she serves as an example by doing what she says what she talks about. So, Sylvia, welcome to the Goddess Power Show. I'm so excited to have you back. Your episode, when I interviewed you a few years ago, is one of the most popular because I think a lot of women out there want to write an erotic novel. So,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts? Tell me how you've observed that people are scared and why.
Well, it's kind of this idea that people are scared kind of got into like I talked to a lot of romance writers, a lot of people who want to write romance. I talked to a lot of those people. And I do teach a course on plot twisting, and a lot of it has to do with weaving romance around suspense. And it's amazing because lately I've been getting a lot of men attending the event,
Oh,
and
okay.
wondering how to do the beats of romance and incorporating that into their story and just underlining, bringing a love story, a real love story, to heart. So as that workshop has grown a bit popular, people come back to me at the end and say, oh, well, I have this romance in mind and I do want it spicy, but I'm so scared to kind of get it out there. For me, number one, I think I should start with myself. I've always wanted to, like, since I was 12, I knew I was going to write a romance. I knew when I saw that Fabio cover, I wanted to be in that world. Um, but I realized, and I'm glad I discovered this at a young age, you can be in that world, but that world doesn't have to be in you. And I think that's where people fear is that, oh, if you see me write this, then you think that that's who I am. That's the kind of person I am. And like I said, I'm glad I discovered it when I was young because I didn't know anything about that world. And I
Uh-huh.
knew it would tear me a new one if I was a part of that world.
Did you
I could,
say your mother?
I said, my dad,
Oh, your dad. Okay, okay.
real strict, and he didn't even want romance books in the house. And I knew I even had to sneak books in the house, like just to read them and everything. So I knew I couldn't be a part of that world. But like you've always said, it's your imagination. It's a place you can go and it comes down and then it floods you and fills you. And just for that moment while you're writing that book, it feels so real. And I realized, like, and that's why I said I'm glad I realized that at a young age you can be in that world, but it doesn't have to be in you, and you can
Mm.
just go there when you want to, and that's the fun part about imagination. And I think a lot of people now are so stuck into realism that
Mm.
they can't make that separation of I can just literally step outside of myself and be somewhere else. And I think
Yes.
that's a moment of clarity and peace,
Mhm.
no matter what kind of world you built on that other side where you stepped. When you step back, you're not that person. That is not you. So as you're
Mhm.
building that world and discovering the spiciness, no matter what it is, it's
Mhm.
just in that world. So I think that's
Yes.
where the fear comes is that they think they're gonna bring it that. And I mean, you even got to think about it. Like, it's not just the spiciness. I mean, imagine if Stephen King brought all his stuff back to the real world.
Oh, good point. Good point.
Imagine
Yeah,
if James
but people
Patterson just woke up and said, "Hey, I can just go out and do a spy mission."
Well, that's a great point. But pertaining to erotica, people are worried about their reputation personally and professionally,
Yeah,
and they don't want to get labeled or tainted or even face consequences on their job or in their relationships.
and
So
that's why they have pseudonyms.
yes,
But
yes, yes. So my erotica is Husbands Incorporated, published under my pen name, Sasha Maxwell, and I have very
Mhm.
graphic sex, very graphic language, radical ideas about relationships. There's a lesbian couple in here as well.
Oh wow.
And so, what was that?
I say, oh wow, that's cool.
It's hot. Hot. And it's my imagination gone wild, but it also
Uh-huh.
has really powerful messages about my philosophies on relationships, love, self, and all things. So it's not, Sylvia, I always say erotica is not just a tangle of limbs with titillating terms describing body parts.
Right.
That's boring.
Yes.
Anybody could do that, right? A
Right.
real erotica has real people. I mean, fictitious, but real characters who have depth, who have spirit, who have heart, who have
Right.
intelligence, who have profound insights and philosophies, right?
Yeah, I think exploring those uh relationships with sex and yourself is really important, and it needs to come up to the surface so you can see, where am I, what are my triggers, what are the dark parts of me, and be able to love all that before you can even receive love. So I think erotica
Yes.
gives you that freedom to explore those parts of you. And whether you are the writer or whether you are the reader, you should never, ever be ashamed of exploring those dark parts, because those are the parts that need the most loving.
Ooh,
Those are
yes.
so when I go into that world and I explore those parts of me and I see this is how, this world could be, I understand as a writer who's been doing it for so long, okay, this could never, ever, ever happen. But it's so much fun to be able to be free for those moments and times where no one is putting rules or regulations on top of you. And that's part of the human spirit, is to feel that freedom every once in a while. So when I meet writers and say, oh, I want to do the spicy, but I don't know what they're gonna think, who cares? Who cares whether it's your pseudonym, whether you're writing under your real name? You are doing a service to humanity by showing people parts of themselves that they didn't know could or could possibly exist. And
Yes.
it's a wonderful thing. It's a gift to be able to bring that out in people, and you should never be ashamed of it. Get into
Thank
that,
you.
explore it, go to the corners, go to the ceiling, go back to the floor, and go back up. It all
Woo!
on paper, so then you can see the possibilities, and open up even new doors to what is going to happen. I think when I first decided to go into eroticism, erotic writing, because previous to that, I had been writing romance. So I was writing open door romances, and the man meets the girl, and blah blah blah. They go through the beats and everything. And I think it was in 2009 when I did Mistaken Identity. And this is when I decided to do the Why Choose, with the two males and a female. And there are rules to those, even those are rules, those are regulations, like those are things you do put in place, but how far are you gonna go? Even that has parameters. You can go all out, you can go all in, literally. But but when I was exploring it, I was so scared. Like, how can I bring another man to the bedroom, and how is that going to go? Where are all the thighs are going to meet? Where all the hands are going to touch? And you're just thinking about all of those things, but all the time, like you're exploring that female in terms of how is she feeling? What is going on with her? How does she open herself up to this situation? And how do these two men come together to please her? And it's just
Ooh.
it's a nice kind of way to think about life and going on, and how do I make it so these three people, which is against society norms, actually do fall in love and want to be together and make each other happy.
Oh,
And that's
that
a challenge.
yes, yes, but beautifully said and so exciting of a concept. And Sylvia, the
Right.
whole reason I started this podcast was to shatter the stigma around taboos around
Hmm.
women's sexuality because we've been conditioned from birth that we should be a certain way, and it's
Right.
often oppressive to our sexuality. And I'm on a mission to change that by interviewing people like yourself to see that no, we are allowed, we were gifted with the gift of pleasure in our
Right.
bodies, and we can decide how we want to live and love. And
Hmm.
so I want everybody out there, especially writers at this moment, to find the courage and the confidence. And Sylvia's going to give you some more tips on how to unleash those
Yeah.
fantasies in yourself to share. Because Sylvia, you just beautifully said that it is a gift to people that it shows them a new way to live and love.
Yeah.
So, what are your tips for people who are too scared but really feel this calling to share their erotic stories?
So the first tip would be, most importantly, is to read what you want to write. And that gives you a room to open up and start kind of putting things on the wall and seeing how you would want to see it. Because my threesomes on paper may be different from another author's threesomes. But in order to understand how I want it to be written, I do have to go out there and explore other people's threesomes or why choose romances. So, my most important first tip is to read what you would want to write. And you go out there and you just start really reading, digging down into those books, and do a no judgment zone. And then just,
Uh-huh.
okay, this is what the writer saw. This is what, I'm gonna like, okay. But for me, I would like it like this and this. And you'll start seeing how you want it to be. It's kind of like going into a relationship. Oh, yeah, I don't like those bad relationships. That's not gonna happen. So it's the same thing. You're developing a relationship of how you want these scenes to be done for you that makes you comfortable in terms of writing this, exploring this part of your writing style. And then number two, I would say get a lot of thesauruses. Get a lot
Okay, okay.
of, because there are 1,000 ways to describe a man's private,
Oh,
a woman's breasts, a woman's hands, even down to touches and senses and sensations. There's so many ways. Get a lot of thesauruses, and not just the short word thesauruses, even the long tail thesauruses. You can get long tail thesauruses where it has a couple of words that describes one word or one action. You can even get action thesauruses. You can get feeling thesauruses. There are so many thesauruses out there now. I mean, when we first got started, it was just one Webster's thesaurus.
right, right.
I can't believe it's been that long. You would
I
just pick
know.
a
Isn't that wild?
thesaurus, and that was it. No, there was
Yeah.
no other books around.
Yeah. Not to mention AI.
Yeah, yeah, you got like all of that now, and it's just it's so prevalent that you really try to explore how to say things. I even tell and that would probably be my third tip in order to get these words on paper, because people don't want to just, especially women, we don't want to just read a word. We want you to show us a word and
Yes.
give these sensations, and it's not
Yes.
just about what we see. For even for women, no matter what we do, it is all about the other sensations that we feel, what we smell, what we
Yes.
hear, what we taste, what we touch. It's not even about what we see. So
Hmm.
going into poetry and really deep diving into it, that's my third tip, will
Uh-huh.
make your writing even more powerful. It will bring those love scenes off the page,
Ooh.
and you will be able to express things that you didn't know you could express, and give the reader the sensations of not only being just in the room but on the bed with them, like you are
All
there.
right.
And that is like, that's the whole fun part of it, is just drawing them in, getting them in that room, and then just showing them these are two people who want to be together, two, three, four, five, whatever you want to do in a ride.
Uh-huh. I
but
love it. I love
but
it.
drawing them in there into that environment, and then making that scene for that moment in the story.
Hmm.
I think following those three tips, it will give you the confidence to be able to put the words on paper that you need to put on paper. And I think, and overall, the fear would be is, okay, yes, people will know me because I wrote this, but also, did I do justice to this couple? Did I give
Ooh.
this romance story, this erotic romance, the justice it needs? Is it erotic enough? Having those three tips will give you that confidence. Once you have the confidence to put the words on paper, you can get over. I don't care what other people feel. I wrote a nice scene, a really awesome, amazing scene, and gave this world life. Once you do that and hit the end, oh my gosh, you don't care what people think. This story,
Right.
you're gonna want this story to be read. You're gonna want this romance to be experienced, not
So talk about that fulfillment that you feel by expressing these wild visions that you have to share with people.
it's crazy because, like, regarding like my current novel, Essence Divinity, I had started literally on that story maybe about like a year before pandemic, like 2019. I had like, okay, well, what would happen if a woman really wanted to be a mother, no matter what? She really wanted to be a mother, and there was a healthy patient who had been determined about to die because of the accident he was in, and the sperm was still viable, and she really thought the person was going to die, so no one would ever have to know. And she'd been trying to get pregnant for years, almost decades, and everything had all failed. And you have a viable human in front of you that you could literally pull from and then be a mom. That desire to be a mom, to nurture someone in their life. And I was like, okay, so where's the eroticism?
Ooh, okay, everybody. Sylvia is talking about her new book, so please pay attention because it is so provocative. Oh my gosh.
So I was like, well, okay, how do you extract the sperm? So there are several ways to do it, medically safe and unmedically safe. And I was like, okay, so let's give her a chance. I try to make sin look okay. Let's,
Sin? Did you say sin?
yeah, I've been trying to make sin. I try to justify a human sin. So if someone commits an erotic sin, then I try to say, okay, but the justification, you gotta understand the justification. And then that's where I'm pulling the reader in, is saying,
What
it's not that bad. It
what's it?
really is.
I
Huh?
need to know what is an erotic sin though.
So the erotic sin in this book, in Essence Divinity, was that she stole his sperm the natural way while he was in a coma. That's the
Okay, wait a minute. Let's just acknowledge Sylvia's imagination here because who would even think of that? That is so wild
it
and
was
creative.
it was yeah, I was like, okay. But in her mind, and that's where I'm telling the reader, come in the room and understand. She wants
Right.
to be a
Got it.
mom. He's not using it and he about to die. So, okay, it should be fine. No one will ever know. He's not gonna wake up and say, "Hey, what you doing?" He in a coma. He about to die. So, okay. Well, she didn't expect him to live and come out of the coma and realize that you have what she has done is wrong. So the whole book was just about number one, her having that desire and love to cherish her child, but also feel guilty about what she did. And then on top of that, the person she stole it from is a very cruel, unsensitive, and very foreboding, morally gray man himself, and wants to get justice for what she did.
What? Oh
Yes.
my goodness, Sylvia. Okay, where can people get this book, Essence Divinity?
So they can get it wherever books are sold. I know, like, it just got up on Apple, so I'm kind of excited about that. So it's even in Apple Books. So it's at all the retailers, and it's a pretty thick book. So
How many
it was,
words is it?
oh my God, this one turned out to be about 100, and I think it's like 30. It's a no, no, it's about 100. Yeah, it's about 136,000 words.
Oh my gosh, that's huge. But
Yeah.
that's a
It's
very rich
good.
topic, so I can't even imagine.
It was a great way to get it. But when I first thought of it, back in 2019, I was like, ooh, I wrote the chapter, actually the first chapter, I wrote it like just boom, 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 boom. This is what happened. And it's basically the scene where Osiris is waking up from his coma and he's trying to figure out what is going on. Who are these people? Where am I at? And then he gets in alone time with his nurse and he realizes her voice, her scent, everything is about her. It's just too familiar. But he can't talk and he can't open his eyes. So she doesn't even know he's there. And she decides at that point, they were going to pull the plug right before he woke up. And she's like, okay, well, maybe the baby needs a brother. Might as well get it from the same sample. And that's
Oh
where
my
the story
goodness.
opens up, is that Osiris knows what happened.
How does he know though? I don't want to give away the book, but
Happening to him because she kind of like admits it a little bit. So as he's getting better, he's putting the pieces together of things that she did and then recollections of when he was in the coma, what he was feeling. So it's just like, yeah, I
Sylvia,
was like,
that
but I was like, oh, this is going to be bad. People are going to say things about it. They're going to judge me. And I was going through all those fears that everybody else, and this is like my 64th book at this time. So I'm like, I shouldn't even care because whatever, I'm at 64. So you kind of step into, I'm a legacy at this point. I, I should not be judged, but if I am, whatever. But I was really terrified of like what people were gonna say and things like that. So I was like, you know what? Let me make a list of people who I really care about their judgment.
oh, and who was on the
It was
list?
real short. It's like three people, really three people who I really cared about. My husband, a close friend, and a writing buddy. And I was like, and when I told the writing buddy first, she was like, "Okay, that's pretty. You going across the lines in some cases." And I was like, "Yeah,
Oh,
that is across the line." She
uh-huh.
said, "But how do you feel about the story?" I was like, "Oh my God, this story is so good. Every love scene I put in there, every every research. I researched how to be a nurse, how to work with coma patients. I mean, I dug down into the research because I didn't want, just okay, this got some great hot sex scenes. I wanted to have a whole spectrum of a story
Yeah.
to say, oh, this is all justified. She was partially doing her job, but it just got a little carried away. So it was like, I was like, everything just clicked in the story, everything, the research, the love scenes, the story itself, and then even an element of suspense I all weaved in there. And she was like,
Hmm.
if you feel confident about the story, then go with the story. And then it was like,
See?
yeah, then I told a friend about it, and she was like, girl, that was good. that was
Oh,
that was
wow.
really good.
Okay.
I was like, okay.
And
So then I sat down and talked to the husband, and he was like, do you? So that was
oh,
it.
that is
That was all I
awesome,
did.
Sylvia. Isn't it interesting that you went through exactly what we're sharing with the viewers and listeners today about how you
Yeah,
had to overcome some anxieties and fears of your own?
because it is. Every time, but every time you explore a dark part of yourself, a new part comes up. I don't know if people realize this, and that's why you should be exploring these parts that you would never do. And the great part is the part is your imagination. You don't have to do it. You don't have to
Uh-huh.
go out and do it.
Uh-huh.
You can put it in your imagination and say, oh, okay, well, I see that. And while I'm there, I see something else. Oh, okay, what is over here? And
Hmm.
that's the fun part about, I guess, being a writer, having a great imagination. You can just be like, I can go anywhere. I mean, it's just like that reading rainbow. I can go anywhere. I can
Ooh.
explore everywhere
Hmm.
without leaving the comfort of my home, without jeopardizing other people's lives or even my health at some cases.
Hmm.
But I can do these things and then really know who I am. And in
Hmm.
situations, I have already relived this and I'd be like, oh, yeah, I already did that, but I'm not going to do that in real life. Because
Yes. Yes.
you know
Oh,
the
yeah.
consequences. You really know the
Uh-huh.
real life consequences. But that's the fun part about your imagination is that you are exploring. You are seeing all the bad and good about yourself and loving all parts of it. And that's the part of being human and being able to
Hmm.
be comfortable with yourself and not being afraid to be who you are and knowing like no one can pull the wool over your eyes because you've already explored that part.
Right, right. Wow, Sylvia. So you shared with us your inner circle's response, and how have readers responded to this book?
I've gotten a 4. I got my 4 for my first 4, which I was upset about in the review. I
You mean
was like,
instead of a 5-star review, you got a
instead of a
four-star
five
review?
star. So we were roll. It came out in January, and I was getting all these 5 stars, and people were saying it. And then I got my first 4, and she loved the research. She loved the chemistry of the characters. Um, she, I think it was the suspense because she was more of a suspense kind of reader, and she was like, she wanted more of the suspense, and I was like, really, really. So all in all, the readers have been loving it. They've been charged about it. I love that they really grip the chemistry between Essence and Osiris. They really see
Okay.
that even though she did a bad thing to him, but he was morally great to begin with, and he wasn't a
Hmm.
very nice person to start off with. I love that
Hmm.
people have seen like, okay, out of all this mess, there is a message of love and relationships and really understanding that the family is really not all about what you think it is, it's what you make of it.
Ooh, beautiful. So
Oh,
why did you name them Osiris and Essence?
well, I had already created Essence from another book. She has a cousin named Iris, and she just became her cousin Essence. And then I really liked Essence as a nurse. And I was like, oh, let me try to get a story about Essence. Let's see where this is
Uh-huh.
going to. So she just kind of waited in the back of my head looking for a story. And then when I decided on Osiris, I wanted to do kind of like a divinity kind of thing, where all the brothers all have a divination name, some kind of godly name. So he does have brothers, but they're all like half brothers. His mother was really rambunctious, and so she's got them spread all out. And in this book, they all come together. They're all slowly coming together and realizing, oh, okay, you're my brother. Oh, you're my brother. And so this was all kind of like coming together. So that's why he did have a godly name, is that the mother did do this, even though she had her own selfish reasons for having babies, but it was all kind of like a divinity name. But he lives up to his his title.
Okay.
He,
All
he's a
right.
if you ever research the god Osiris, he was cruel but internally kind, but he was always cruel in his decisions of making sure things got done. So I was like,
Hmm.
okay, let's take on
Hmm.
that personality and go from there. So he
I
makes the
love
hard
it.
decisions. So I was like, yeah, this is kind of cool, and bring out these brothers one by one, and just, you know, secrets come to life throughout the whole book. But it was really great. I was like,
Hmm.
and that's what made it like when I could put suspense and romance, the eroticism, plus all the research, where it didn't feel like it was mushed together, but woven together.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
know I have a good book, and I'm proud to stand by it. And that's why I tell people, if you are proud to stand by that book, if you took everybody, opinion off the board and just said, is this a good story? Did I write a really awesome, amazing story? If that is the case, don't be ashamed of it. Go in and have fun and promote
Oh,
it, publish it and promote it.
yes, I love that, Sylvia. It's easy to get shamed if somebody, especially someone you respect,
Right.
tells you that's bad. And
Yeah.
we all need to just ignore shame and blast through it and do our thing. So I think you're emboldening people. I hope this conversation emboldens people, and that we all have the right to express our wildest fantasies on paper in a book, and
Yeah.
it touches people. And with my first three romantic thrillers, including Twilight, which I wrote with Billy D. Williams, people would tell me that they read the love scenes as foreplay. Couples, they would read
Wow.
it to each other as foreplay, and I'm like, okay, I succeeded in that. If I can get them aroused by, my, again, using the spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, all the things, not just the titillating body parts, then I
Right.
succeeded. And I'm very proud of that. And I will not be shamed. In fact, we're about to do a show, a live performance with
Oh,
themes of this
wow.
book. So stay tuned. It's going to be in Detroit this spring or summer,
Let
and
me
it's
know.
hot. And yeah, so I mean, that's bold. And so I'm very proud of this. Some people have told me it should just go be dumped in the ocean because it's pornography, but I don't believe so. Pornography is just the physical, whereas
Right.
my storytelling, like yours, has heart and soul and messages about life and love.
Right. Right. And I think that's the fun part about being an erotic romance writer, is that you're given that sensuality and be able to bring it out in people, but also to be able to weave those messages of love, life, and just coming together as a human, as a whole, where so many people don't even know the parts of them, and you're bringing it all together. I think that's one of our superpowers, is that,
Yes.
yes, I'm exploring this part that you've never seen, but also I'm bringing this part that you've never touched inside of yourself. And that's the
Yes.
part, and being able to open those doors to people and fill it up with just knowledge of life, of being a human is just so complicated. Being a woman is
Uh-huh.
even 20 times complicated. But just just being able to be there for them, hold their hand through this whole process as they're turning the pages. That's a awesome feeling for me.
Uh-huh.
It know that, every time someone does come up and say, "Oh my God, your books just rock me," I could not put it.
Yes.
I burn food, over it. It's kind of like, yep, that's a good thing. I did my job then. That I did touch you in some kind of way, and it's a gratifying feeling to be able to know we're putting that out in the world, and it's nothing to be
Yes.
ashamed about. It's something to be celebrated. It's a something to be really celebrated and grateful that you can do that, because not a lot of people
Yes.
can do it. Like you said, a lot of people can just do the show me this, show me body parts, hit that, touch that, wiggle that, and that's it. But to be able to just walk away from a love scene and then you're just like you're gasping with the characters is that's great. And but what I've also done is shown you something that could be possible inside of you that you need to explore even more. It opens those doors, and that's what we do, is open the doors.
That is beautiful. I know you're opening the doors right now for writers out there who are finding the courage and confidence to write their book. And Sylvia, I have one more question. What do you think about this? You said our gift is a superpower, that having the ability to tell these stories that have the emotional impact on people and educate them and open their minds and hearts. But writing about the sensations of love and pleasure is very difficult. If you ask the average person to describe, for example, an orgasm, they can't. They'll just say, "Oh, it feels good." That's not enough. I mean, good that it feels good, but no, describe it physically, emotionally, spiritually. And you and I are able to do that. And your writing is just so fire, pure fire. And that is a gift. So can you talk about that? Like that being a superpower, being able to put these really indescribable dynamics into words.
It is. It's hard. And I usually start with a circle.
A
I just
circle?
circle. And I know that sounds really horrible. I start with a circle and a horror movie. That is what I
Oh no. Uh-oh. What does this mean?
saw when and it's kind of weird. And I guess everybody has their own, way of getting things out. So I know when I watch horror movies, that intense tension that I feel as the entity is getting closer to the character, or breaking doors down, or just pushing, getting to the fear, making that character feel the fear of who that entity is, or whatever it is, the killer, the ghosts, whatever it is. I love watching those types of movies where they're breaking down the barrier to show them I am real. This is me. And I love that because you can turn that into a really powerful love scene. And I know that's because what you're doing in love making is you are getting to the essence, the core of pleasure, and every touch, every sensation has to be experienced in order to pull away the barriers until this pleasure is real. We are
Okay.
knocking till we get something broke. So it's kind of like the same way. And then so you start with the circle. The first circle is, it's kind of like, okay, we're doing the talking, or the eargasms, or the brain gasms are starting to work in. And then the second realm is the physical. The physical is the, hey, let's start touching body parts. Let's start moving that, but still keep the ear gasms going, the vocals in it. I love when writers actually put words inside of the love scene. I hate when they just show, or, she's feeling this and doing this, but then like not even the growls, but he'll say, damn, this is good. You're like, ooh, got a shiver. I got a shiver. Even that when they say, oh, he talked. Woo, stop it. But then you put in the physical, and then you bring in the auditory, you're bringing the emotions, and then by the time you get to the middle, where the sensations, where the spirituality of it all bubbles up, and it brings everything, and that is the pinnacle. That's where you have to go down into the black hole to come bring it out and shoot up. So I love that. I know I just was really descriptive, but it just, you do have to get down to the bottom of it in order to come back up. And that is what we do. That is how it's
Yes.
done. It shouldn't be, like you said, physical, 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 or,
No.
hey, let's rub here or anything. But it's all about that. And that's what women are. We are complicated beings of several circles in order to get to what we really need to be done.
Hmm.
And
Oh my gosh, that was a mic drop, Sylvia. That was phenomenal. And that's so it. That is so it. But again, it
yeah. And
mhm.
sometimes I don't even break those scenes up into one scene. I in order to make my love stories work, I usually think in threes, and that's why I have the three circles. The three circles actually, in the beginning, we're at the beginning of the circle when the couples meet, the meet cutes and all of that, getting the eargasms in, the kind of like, okay, sensuality, the tension starts that this is going to happen. This circle is complete. No one else is coming into this circle at that point.
Mhm.
And then now that we're in the circle, let's start doing physical stuff. So the first one is, the foreplay. That's, even if it's a one night stand, you're still getting the awkwardness of being close to each other, getting used to the smells, taste, touch of each other, that thing. And then the second circle is kind of like, okay, let's jump into this. I know what turns you on. Let's get the physical out the way. Let's get the get used to the ugly face and stuff like. But then that last love scene in my story is usually where they make those spiritual and out of this world connections to know this is what I want forever. This is
Mm.
this is where I've always dreamed about being in this embodiment of another human being. So
Wow.
I usually work my story. So you're always going to get at least three scenes because those need to be done in order for, I think, two people or 2 to 5 people, whatever you want to put, to come together, to really come together
Okay.
really, and know this is what life is all about, is us being together and joining and having this between us and no one else. So,
Oh,
and that's the
Sylvia, that
romance.
is so beautifully said. This is the best. I love talking with you so, so much. So tell everybody where they can find you and your books.
So you can always find me online. I think I have so much presence, you can just Google me. But you can always find me on my website at sylviahubbard.com and go and shop and buy books directly, even from me. Even my newest book is available there. You can get it. And then, of course, Facebook is my name, Sylvia Hubbard. And then all my other social medias, I'm pretty much everywhere as the the hashtag, the at sign, and Sylvia Hubbard one. So you can just find me at my handle, Sylvia Hubbard one. And then to yeah, that's how you find me everywhere on my website and here. So hey.
Mhm. And so this is your latest book, but what's next?
What's next is Marry Me. And that is actually about I'm trying to get into fake contemporary marriages and making it make sense. Because it's like hard to fake a
Okay.
marriage.
Fake
Let's not be
marriages.
right. So
What's
I
a
want
fake
to.
marriage?
A fake marriage is when you're like playing around being married for a cause or for an embarrassment or something like that. So in this one, his mother's dying of cancer. She's at stage 4, and they've told her she only have maybe weeks to live. And he had planned to get married. That's the one thing she wants, is to see her son married. And yeah, he's under a lot of pressure. And the girl he decides to propose with, she decides to be flaky and cancel because it's not what she wants right now. So he actually, this girl was actually, another woman was actually about to commit suicide, and he's like, well, can you hold off for that for the moment and then just impress my mom? And that's where the story
Oh
starts.
my goodness.
That's where the story starts. He convinces her to get off the ledge at the Detroit MacArthur Bridge, and to please come down so he can propose to her. And so, because he just wants his mom happy. So this one moment for her turns into the mother, like, oh, okay, she's so happy. They arrange things and things start to come together. So sometimes, you never know when life is really worth living.
Wow, that's deep, Sylvia. Oh my goodness.
So
Okay, that's your, and when does that book come out? What's it called? Marry
it's
Me?
called Marry Me, and
Okay.
it's going to be a work in progress on my website. So you can actually come into my website and watch me write the story starting
Ooh,
in, and I should be done by June. And so we can publish it by the end of the year, where we always
okay.
celebrate 7 days after Christmas. And people can get lots of free giveaways, discounts, and so forth. And that'll be part of the stories that'll be on those lists.
And let's just celebrate that will be your 65th book, and you truly are a book goddess.
Well, it'll be my
That,
67th book, because I'll
oh,
actually be coming out with another book, Delilah's Desire, in July. And that's about a woman who falls in love with her fiance's father. I know, I know.
oh my God, there's a taboo topic. Okay. Wow, Sylvia.
And then the father has a brother, and he'll be coming out with another book between there. So it'll be like 67 by the time
Okay.
Mimi is published. I know, I know. It's just,
That's remarkable. Remarkable. And what year did you start writing books?
wow. Well, the year I started writing real books, like to publish, I would say that would be 1999, before Y2K. I just sat down. I had unfinished books, but I finally completed the first book in 1999. I published that. That was Dreams of Reality. That's just so long ago. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, I just kept it going.
Well,
Like,
yes. Congratulations on all that. And do you have any events coming up that you want people to know about?
yes, I will be. Thank you, because I would have totally forgot. I will be at a Rally of Writers, and that's in Lansing, Michigan. And I'll actually be talking about Amazon 101, how to, understand the dashboards, how to get published, how to use the marketing things with Amazon. And then I'll also then be doing the Southwest Writers Conference, and that's over by Grand Rapids, Michigan, I believe. But yeah, you
Mhm.
can look it up. It's the Southwest Writers Conference, and that's at the end of April. And I'll be speaking about 8 goals for writers. So I'm really
Mm.
excited about that. How to keep focused, how to stay focused, and how to continue making a profit while also encouraging your search engine optimization.
Oh, that's so important. So, Sylvia, is the registration information on your website for all of
Yes,
these?
you can click on the events, and all the registration information is all there.
Mhm.
So yeah, please come out and join me, and we can talk some more.
All right. Excellent. I love this. Sylvia, thank you so, so very much for joining me here on the Goddess Power Show. You are a powerhouse, a goddess, a boss, and I'm really, really proud of you. And I wish you continued huge success.
Oh my God, same to you. We got to do like a book signing together, like just take over a bookstore and just go to town.
Let's do that. Maybe this summer.
Yeah, because there are two different romance bookstores opening. One has already opened, and then the Pages Bookshop just gave over new ownership to a nice guy. So, yeah, right there in Detroit. So, we should just schedule something just to encourage people to get foot traffic in there. That would be
Let's
so
do it. That would be amazing. Yeah, that would be phenomenal. We could even include some kind of workshop that would help people write a book.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'll put the feelers out because I really haven't met him yet, but he looks like he really wants to do something different. And I mean, to keep a bookstore open up in Detroit is a phenomenal feat to want to
Yeah.
invest in
Yeah.
the city. So I want to try to encourage it. You know, I don't want it to be like an Apple bookstore where it was great and then it just went away.
Oh, that was my
I
favorite. Oh my goodness. They did all three of my
know.
first book parties. We sold
Aw,
thousands of books with them and had events, Apple Bookstore, Sherry McGee. She was amazing.
oh, so
Yeah.
I want to encourage,
Yeah.
like, oh, I hope this is more to come, but I do want to keep this one open. So, yeah, yeah, I'm gonna
All
reach
right,
out. I'll let
Sylvia.
you know.
Yes, that sounds phenomenal. So, everybody stay tuned for a collaboration with me, Elizabeth Ann Atkins, and Sylvia Hubbard, where we're going to present our books and also teach you how to write a book, publish a book, and promote a book because we all have the skills. The two of us have the skills and the expertise, and we love to share it and teach. So,
Um,
thank you so much for watching the Goddess Power Show today. I'm Elizabeth Ann Atkins. And remember, Goddess, you can do anything you set your mind to, including writing an erotic novel. So I hope you now have the courage, confidence, and tips to go do it and have huge